Because of why I search the deep through endless nights, no time to sleep. The call inside I can't deny. I'll find the light because of why.
Have you ever heard of a country that's so small you could easily miss it on a map, but so ridiculously wealthy it gives its citizens a tax-free, cushy lifestyle? Well, that's Brunei for you. Today, we're going to dig into the secret behind all that money and the kind of surprising challenges that come along with it.
Okay, so first up, let's get our bearings. Right here on the island of Borneo in Southeast Asia, surrounded by Malaysia, that's Brunei, for a place this tiny, it has this massive, worldwide reputation for being loaded with cash. And honestly, it's for a very good reason.
And that leads us to the million-dollar question, or in this case, the billion-dollar question of this whole explainer. Where is all that money actually coming from? And, you know, the answer is kind of simple, but also really complicated.
To really get Brunei's economy, you have to start with the foundation of all its modern wealth. Let's call this chapter the Gilded Sultanate. Yep, it all boils down to these two things, oil and gas. For decades, the entire economic engine of this country has been running on its massive reserves of this stuff. I mean, think about it. The oil and gas sector makes up nearly half of the country's entire GDP. And get this, the government's dependency on it is just wow. A full 84% of all its revenue comes directly from oil and gas. Just let that sink in. One single industry is footing the bill for pretty much everything else in the country. It's staggering.
So with all that cash pouring into the government's bank account, what does that actually mean for the average person living there? Does it really translate to, life on Easy Street?
Well, in a lot of ways, yeah, it does. All that oil money gets funneled directly into one of the most generous welfare states on the planet. It's basically a cradle-to-grave social safety net for every citizen. And the list of perks for citizens is, well, it's pretty wild. There's no personal income tax, healthcare is free, education is free, all the way through university. The government even helps you out with cheap housing and gives pensions to everyone. It's an incredible deal. But there's always a bite, right? Here's a different take from someone on Reddit who's from Brunei. They point out that maybe there's a downside to all this. They say that if you grow up constantly being told you're special and privileged, it can lead to this sense of complacency. Like, why try hard when everything's just handed to you? And that right there brings us to the biggest challenge the country is facing today. I'm calling it the oil and gas dilemma. Because relying on just one thing, no matter how valuable it is a super risky game to play long term. Okay, problem number one is right here. Global energy prices are notoriously unstable. I mean, just look at the crazy up and down swings on this graph. When your entire national budget is tied to something that bounces around like this, you're basically strapped into a roller coaster that you have absolutely no control over. And here's the really shocking part. While all its neighbors in the region have been growing like crazy, Brunei's economy has actually been shrinking for a decade. The very thing that made it rich has, weirdly enough, led to its economy just stagnating. And this isn't just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. Even with all that money floating around, the unemployment rate is over 5%. The whole system, propped up by oil, is struggling to create enough new jobs, especially for young people. So, faced with this reality, the government knew it couldn't just sit back and do nothing. They needed a totally new game plan for the future, and boy, did they come up with an ambitious one. It's called Wawasan Brunei 2035, which basically means Brunei Vision 2035. And it's this huge, long-term national plan designed to completely remake the country's economy and make sure it has a future that isn't all about oil and gas. So, the vision boils down to three main goals. First, create a population that's super well educated and highly skilled. Second, make sure everyone still has a really high quality of life. And third, and this is the big one, build a dynamic, sustainable economy that isn't constantly at the mercy of oil prices.
Right, so the huge question is, how do you actually do that? How do you turn a massive economic ship in a totally new direction? Well, Brunei is in a race against time to diversify its economy.
And the strategy has a few different parts. First, they're beefing up what are called downstream industries. So instead of just selling raw oil, they're turning it into more valuable stuff like petrochemicals. They're also trying to grow sectors like finance and tourism, cutting a bunch of red tape to attract new businesses, and even exploring new ideas like the blue economy, which is all about using their ocean resources sustainably.
And here it is. This is the big moment. Look at this graph. For the first time in recent history, the non-oil and gas part of the economy has actually overtaken the oil and gas part. It now makes up 53% of the whole economy. This is a massive, massive milestone.
Seriously, this is a huge, critical step in their big plan. But it's just one step. The race is definitely not over yet, and the pressure to keep this momentum going is absolutely immense.
So, we're left with this massive question. Brunei is in this high-stakes race against the clock, trying to build a whole new economic foundation before the old one gives out. Is this big, ambitious Vision 2035 going to be enough to guarantee a future that's not just built on oil?
So what's your take? Do you think this big plan to diversify will actually work? Can they break free from their reliance on oil? I'm genuinely curious what you think, so let us know down in the comments. And hey, if you found this little dive into Brunei's economy interesting, do us a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps us out. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories shaping our world.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll catch you in the next one.